Okay, hey guys, so we are live, and it has been a minute since I've done one of these things, a group panel. But we are back with just that. We're doing another group panel today. And so joining me, I have a bunch of familiar faces to the channel. They've all been on here at least once before. But in case your memory is a little bit hazy, I'm going to let them really briefly introduce themselves. Starting with the gentleman to my right, Mr. Brian. Why don't you introduce yourself, sir?
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian. I'm back again. I'm Korean, born in Korea, raised in California.
Oh, my
And
turn?
yep.
Oh, yeah. My name is Pachilu Hayashi, Japanese, Chinese mixed descent, live in San Francisco, California. Musician, YouTuber. I play guitar and compose music in a band called POB Worldwide, otherwise known as Pachilu Band. We're a virtual rock band, basically, exclusively on the internet. You might have heard of us. And I'm just glad to be here.
Cool, thank you. And Miss Ling Tina?
Hi, I'm Leontina. Known for doing 10,000 million things on the internet. Um, on the unprofessional side, business consultant and analyst. On the creative side, musician, artist, writer, a little bit of everything. YouTuber, does all things. Thank you.
And last but not least, Miss Marlowe.
Hey guys, my name is Marla Briggs. You'll find me online, usually working on my startup, which is a virtual reality turnkey solution. So digital marketing, but for the metaverse and everything that's coming online. I live in Houston. I'm originally from Ohio. My background is in marketing and theater.
Oh, sorry, I got lost real quick. Okay, yeah, cool. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. So let's jump into it. And so I had a few questions lined up, but I'm sort of going out of order now. So I know that I think this question applies to everybody here. If it doesn't, I apologize. But I think the majority of you said that you, in some way, shape, or form or another, you are you're marketing yourselves, you're marketing your product or whatever yourselves. You're basically pitching yourselves, and you're basically, for lack of a better word, entrepreneurs, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can you please talk about that? I know I've talked with each of you about that sort of briefly before, but I'd like to sort of get everyone's thoughts out there on the subject, and maybe even exchange some ideas and whatnot. Um, because I feel like we obviously we have this channel. It's mostly for dating, relationship stuff like that too, but it's also a brand, and so in that regard, I sort of focused on marketing myself, pitching myself to other people, and everyone at home watching too. If they have some sort of ideas that they like to maybe get out there in the world too, like let's just sort of go around the panel and discuss what are your thoughts about sort of how you pitch yourself, how you market yourself, and what are sort of key components to that. And there's no order; anyone can go whenever they want. So
Okay. I can start, right? All right.
yep.
So I play in a band. We've been on and off active since 2001. I started music when I was very young, when I was still in high school. I wasn't semi-professional till I finished training at the dojo of rock and roll around like 2006, while I was attending community college at the time. So it's like been many, many years I've been doing this project on and off. I've been through some hardships and all that kind of stuff, some highs, some lowest of lows. But music's always been a big thing in my part of my life, and recently I've been able to like up my game on my YouTube channel lately because the videos I'm producing are pretty much a lot better than my older ones, I would say. And as far as the music I do in POB is concerned, otherwise known as Patch Glue Band, I do kind of like a fusion kind of style. Like it's a mix of retro rock from maybe the early 90s, like probably let's say around 1992, mixed with like a little bit of J-pop and K-pop mixed in, because some of the songs are in Japanese language, but they're mostly in English or just instrumentals. And I've been doing, and about the brand I do, it's like, we're a virtual rock band. It's not just me, it's also a cross dressing gimmick marketed as my fictional cousin or sister named Madeline, which you might have heard of if you follow my story on social media. And my friend Madoku, also known as Yandi, in my other band, Crazy Losers in a Box. And she just joined the band recently on as a vocalist. She's working on adding some vocal parts to the new album right now as we speak, in her own makeshift studio in her own apartment. But I've been doing this music thing for like good amount of 2 decades or so. The reason why it's a virtual rock band is because like I'm always the type of guy that was always nervous to go on stage and perform. I have a love-hate relationship with touring and traveling and stuff like that because it can be a grind on my body and my mental and physical health. So I do these live stream concerts and these virtual events as a virtual rock band because technology has advanced over the past couple years where it's possible for a band or artist in this very room we live, eat, and sleep in or do whatever we want, and we make the music, we broadcast ourselves online through TikTok, all these platforms like YouTube. That's what I'm doing with POB. It's been a good ride so far. I'm really happy about it. It might have took me quite a bit longer to achieve that level in such a small way with Patrick Luban, but it's always been a blessing. And I hope
I think you're kind of buffering right there. You're kind of breaking up. I think I don't know the connection.
that.
Oh,
My reception's kind of bad. Whoa.
no, it's okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, that's good. So I'm just glad the music's been going very well for me so far, though.
Excellent. And
Thank you.
so I have some more. Yeah, that's awesome. So Miss Linktina, why don't you discuss your ideas and your sort of quote unquote brand?
Sure. For me, I do, when it comes to marketing and branding, I think the most important thing is to have an identity that the customers can establish you with, or the people, or your audience, or your fans, or whoever can identify you with. Way back in the day, for a little bit of my story, I've been a manager of 2 rock bands and an R&B group, and as well been a music producer and work with people in music. So I totally understand what Patrick was talking about, having a virtual band. I've actually done it before. So, and when it comes to marketing, my specialty is definitely helping individuals stand out and have the tools that the bigger companies have so that they can get their brands out so people to know who they are on social media, things like that. I also work with companies on social media and do a little bit of social media coaching to teach people how to post, what to post, and things like that to get attention, things that the magical algorithm is looking for to draw attention to them so they know exactly what they need to do to bring the attention that they want, not the ones they don't want. And I would say definitely ideas for branding. The number one thing is knowing exactly who you want to talk to, like knowing who you want to sell to, knowing who your audience is. The more clear you can be about who your fans are, who you want your loyal fans to be, the easier it is for you to definitely sell your services and to advertise yourself to them. Thank you.
Miss Marlowe.
Right. So my company is called Virtual Rose Media. And my bread and butter starting out was doing virtual tours, like for Google Maps, real estate, MLS compliant, realtor.com, Zillow. And then I realized that with the metaverse coming online, there's really only going to be 2 ways of making money. Either you're going to build the infrastructure and the software and, all the hardware and technical stuff on the back end and get people to invest in you that way, or you're going to be on the content side of things, which is partnering with individual brands, whether it be, documentaries, music videos, play skits, anything that can go viral on 2D video is just primed and ready to go for virtual reality. So my goal is really to collaborate with people who want to future-proof their work, make sure that, they have that market saturation, that backlog of content for when, the rest of the populace comes online and we move away from virtual reality just on our phone. Eventually, it'll be on smaller headsets. So having that content there and just really making people go viral in VR is what I'm all about.
That's excellent. And Mr. Brian, sorry, I know we skipped you really quickly, but I know you are an actor. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am an actor and I'm also a film crew member.
So on the subject of branding and sort of pitching yourself, like how do you pitch yourself as an actor, right? To for instance, like in what you call it, auditions, casting directors, all that stuff. When you're responding to casting calls and you're trying to get your name out there, trying to get noticed, how would you go about pitching yourself? And like any advice for any other actors out there?
So as me doing acting for 3 years, I've started from the way bottom. Now I'm still working myself up, but as of now, what I do is reach out to the casting director email, submit headshot and my and my link. I have a link which is Internet Movie Database link, IMDb. I have the IMDb profile, so I have IMDb, so that's why I have credits with past works I've done and submit. And in my IMDb account, I put some good photos of me on the camera and also behind the camera photos. And I also have an Instagram account where I post and I give my people my Instagram handles to check out my photos and just full body shot of me or just me doing different stuff while taking a picture and posting on the Instagram.
Okay,
So
excellent. Yeah,
Instagram,
thank
yep.
you. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Social media is very, very helpful and important. So yeah, that was the first question. So thank you for everyone on the panel for answering that. I'm sure it's a great answer. It's very helpful, very very useful. Okay, so let's shift gears now to dating and relationships and love and all that stuff, which is very very fascinating. Um, so I'm pretty sure, obviously, having talked to all of you before at least once, that we all pretty much here on the panel have some sort of experience dating outside our race or anything like that. And so that can be a hot topic. Interracial dating is very very popular. It's becoming more and more common every day. Like I just said, it's a very popular hot topic, and a lot I feel like there's a lot more people discussing it and sort of quote unquote gossiping or talking, not talking BS, but just talking, just shooting the shit or whatever about it. But there's not a whole lot, but there's still that number is sort of bigger than the ones who are actually putting themselves out there and actually talking to people, you know what I mean, going on dates and stuff like that. And I know, like, I should probably change the name of this channel to, like, shy person channel, because I always bring up this topic every time. But it's like there is a huge number. Okay, and me saying this as an Asian male, so everyone watching at home and everyone on the panel, don't get twisted. I don't mean this is in any form of disrespect or anything like that. But unfortunately, the majority of people that I've talked to on here and off the channel have all told me that their experiences with Asian men have been, oh, they're shy. They're shy. They're shy as hell. They're really shy. They don't say anything. Maybe I like someone who happens to be Asian, or maybe there's this cute Asian guy or whatever, a good-looking Asian guy. But you know what? He doesn't say anything to me because he's too fucking shy, and that is a problem. And I don't, you know what I mean. I feel like that's sort of unofficially become one of the goals of this channel, is to kind of learn to understand it a little bit better and try to help people come out of their shell, because there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of great guys, a lot of great women out there who should be, talking to each other and going out and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Oh no, should be is the right word. But basically, I don't know how else to describe it. But you know what I mean? Could be, basically. Let's just say that, right? There's a lot of people who could be getting along with each other and falling in love, maybe, but they're not doing it. So I want to go around the panel and discuss, like, what are your thoughts on that, and what would your advice be to people who are shy, who are sort of still kind of unwilling to take the first step, right, and make the first move. So let's start at the bottom this time. Let's start with Marlo.
I think specifically in regards to the topic of the Asian man shy trope, I don't know if it is restricted just to dating. I find that a lot of times that in an effort of making sure that their children have an easier life than what they've been through, parents will often teach their kids to kind of fall into the model minority kind of mold. And it's like, make yourself smaller. Don't bring attention to yourself. Don't take any risks. Don't put yourself out there. Only take the jobs that are guaranteed to make money so you can take care of us when we're old someday. And then there's that switch of work, 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 school, 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 and why no grandkids? It's like, well, there wasn't enough time to do both. So I guess my advice would be that if you are interested in someone who does come off as typically shy, don't write it off as them being like shy. It could be something else. It could be societal pressures. It could be, how they were raised by their family. Oftentimes, if you get a couple of drinks in these guys, woo! It's a completely different story, like red face and all. And that's great. That's fun. I love seeing people break out of their shell. And, but that shell might be more than just, oh, that's their personality, that they're shy. There's other things to it. And I think if you're interested in a person, you owe it to them and yourselves to make sure that you find the root of that and address it.
Excellent, excellent. Tina?
Okay, now I finally got that mic right. Okay, for me, in my opinion, I mostly date men that are still in Asia and that like are on vacation maybe, but usually in especially Japan, you're taught not to offend people. And because they were about, oh my goodness, what am I going to say to this girl? Is she going to hate me? Is it going to make her mad? They're so deep in the thought of wondering if they're going to offend the girl by saying hi that they hardly ever do. So my advice usually to the women is, approach first, because many of the men don't know if you actually like them, and the ones who I've dated at least, and they worry that by saying hi to you or flirting with you that they're offended you or get on your nerves, and they don't want to do that, and so they're kind of caught between I could say something to her, but then I might look bad like a douchebag, or I could do this and this, or I could not say anything, or I might miss her, and so they're in that moment of do I, don't I, just break that whole thing up, go up to them and say, hey, how you doing? My name is fill in the blank. It's nice to meet you, because that way you can go ahead and establish that connection. And if they are interested, then they can, from that point, they can feel relieved that you made the effort and they don't have to worry about all the pressure of, will I offend this woman? And I think that making that first move helps take all that pressure off of them, and it gives them a chance to sort of relax a little bit so that they can be more of themselves, because yes, society has a lot of pressure on Asian men. And anytime you can alleviate that pressure just a little bit, it helps a lot with making the communication much easier.
Excellent. I agree. Mr. Patrick?
Well, I think, I grew up in a different era, basically, where, in the 90s, where Asian men were stereotyped as shy and nerdy, that kind of stuff. But it's not always the case, because, there's, like I said, there's, like, a lot of society pressure with us people, basically, us brothers, and these days it's more profitable and more fashionable, I guess, to be an Asian man in the Western world, because we got these artists like BTS and all these other actors breaking through as leading roles in Hollywood, sort of, so to speak, and this wasn't possible as recent as 2 decades ago. It might have had played a factor in my own project with Patrick Luban, and I think it's done me very well, because I'm actually dating someone who is actually part Black and some other mixed ethnicity as well, and I was actually not the one who originally approached her, though. She approached me and she added me on Facebook and we just started talking. So I had this mindset is, okay, what do I've got to lose? It's like, I always have this mindset. What do I have got to lose? If this person likes me and she has shown these interests and these vibes, yes, I got to be careful what to read every body language and every note, every fine print. But it's like, I got to be sure I got to play my cards and see how this goes. Because if I don't see how it goes, I'm gonna miss out on the opportunity and miss out on the bus, basically, So it's like, I gotta make sure whenever someone does become a part of me in a big way, whether it's my girlfriend or any of my fans or stands or something, that I make time for them, because like typically I'm not very shy myself. I mean, I used to be when I was in school back, like when I was really little, kid in the 90s and early 2000s, but I grew out of it because I took music class and I played sports in high school. I played baseball in high school, and I did a lot of other stuff like theater at college and stuff like that too. So what it really opened up my stage fright, my insecurity of being shy and not being able to cut it. So when people started opening up to me, it's like I get this mindset. What I've got to lose, just go for it. Just go for it, or you'll miss the bus. And I think that's the advice I could put out for brothers like me who are still in the shy mode, or as far as the opposite gender goes, I guess you can say, just give it a shot and, just try to understand where they're coming from, because, there's also different cultural boundaries that we got to understand, and we got to try our best to, like, get through that and break every mold, of course.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. And speaking of Asian brothers, Brian, what is your take on that?
Yes, so Asian men being shy with other race, that is true, because
Oh,
there are many instances, because like sometimes when like a white girl approaches an Asian man, they can be shy, but there's a lot of stuff going on in their brain. Like they can be like, oh my god, she's too good for me, like, or she's too pretty for me. Because they have that bit of an insecurity wise, and they also don't want to offend other people. So it's like there is actually a double standard going on. Like if a man offends a woman, that's serious. But if a woman offends a man that's like lesser serious. So that's why like a lot of men are actually being cautiously, they're really being cautious because of the double standard. Like they don't want to get in deep trouble, or they don't want to get like falsely accused of something they didn't do.
Hmm.
And not just that, like sometimes when they meet a woman, they'll be like, it's gonna be a big commitment right there. Will I be down for the commitment? So these are like different. They have different all these thoughts going on, which makes them shy, which makes them look shy. But in reality, they're just processing all this type of stuff.
Yeah, excellent. That's a good. That's a good take on that because I haven't heard that before. I hadn't really considered that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, you never really know what someone's going through or anything like that, or how someone thinks. And for me, personal experience, like I've met, for me personally, I don't consider myself that shy. Maybe I'm not as outgoing as I used to be, but I'm definitely not, quote unquote shy or whatever. But I've met people on both sides of that as well, like people who are not shy and people who were extremely, extremely shy. So it was a mixed bag, and it's definitely not restricted to just Asian men. But at the same time, I did want to address that issue because I feel like it is a very real issue that happens, unfortunately. Anyway, so okay. Well, sort of on to something a little bit more, I guess, upbeat and more positive. Um, so yeah, I want to go around the panel again and discuss what was your. Um, I don't believe any of you are married, correct? None
I'm
of you
divorced.
are not
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 yet.
not putting anyone on the spot. Okay, not yet. All right. Well, so let's go around the panel. Let's discuss our dating experiences with I was gonna say opposite race, or it doesn't make sense. The outside of your race, basically. You know what I mean? I want to know like what was for you like your the highlight. I'm trying to phrase this like in a way that's not awkward or whatever. For you, what was your most, I guess, positive or pleasant, or fun memory with someone who did not look like you, someone who was from, a different, racial background or whatever. Can you describe that? You know what I mean? And to the best of your ability, because I definitely want to turn to something a little bit more, yeah, just a little bit more friendly, more positive. So we'll go around the panel. We'll start with Brian.
Well, apparently I'm still single, but I didn't really like date or anybody, but I did go to a restaurant or watch a movie with a couple other girls. I don't know if that should be considered dating, but those type of moments is like it's interesting because like it kind of like different race going with different race is like you stand out among the crowd. You stand out. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, you guys look cute." I had one instance that happened, and you just different. You just learn, just check out different cultures, and you learn different cultures too. So you teach and learn about different cultures.
Okay, cool. Cool. Thank you for that. Patrick?
I say the best experiences I had dating outside my race from the opposite gender was I went to a lot of concerts with my previous dates. Like we went to rock concerts, rap concerts, and stuff like that, and it was fun, like cause I was always into music since day one, and I always loved what I love to do for fun when I have my days off my day job, or when I'm not doing my own music in PLB with the virtual kind of stuff I'm doing at home to a wide audience in a niche kind of way. I like to go to see live music, and some of my best dates I had was going out with girls to go to the concerts, or it could have been a big band like maybe Blink 182, or it could have been a smaller band like my friend's punk rock band who usually plays at the bar in San Francisco. I think I'm not here to generalize other things from my kind towards other women from the opposite gender or opposite race or something, but I noticed that when I dated all kinds of girls in my life, my own and outside as well. When I dated my own, there was a little bit of I wouldn't say it was bad, but like they were not really as into the same kind of things as I was. I mean, they were, but they were not really that. I'm not saying all of them are like that, but they're not as extroverted about like the things I was into at that time, like rock concerts and wrestling events and stuff like that. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't low key, but like not here to generalize, of course. But when I used to go out with girls from an opposite race of mine is like, because I was adapted to the American culture because I spent most of my life in America basically as an Asian man of Japanese and Chinese mixed descendant, you know, and like I adapted to culture very quick, you know. So when I hanged out with people from other kinds, it's like they're into wrestling like WWE and AEW, and they're into rock music and rap music like I am, you know, and we could go to a 49ers football game and have fun, you know. I was really adapted to the culture in America at a very early age, which may or may have gotten me an advantage with some ways to adapt and assimilate into the society in the United States. Well, I still have some problems to deal with, of course, which I don't want to get into, of course, you know, but I dated girls from outside my race, and we were always going to, I would say the best experience was basically having more of an extroverted side to me, where we would actually go to places where that interest me, basically, like wrestling events, pro wrestling events, concerts. We could even go to a restaurant and eat the food from the culture I come from or the culture she comes from, because, you know, I did all kinds of races, even my own, you know, like I would go to soul food restaurants or Mexican taqueria trucks or something. It's like it's a great feeling, you know, like exchange of cultural affairs and international affairs. And it's always a great thing, though, you know, to introduce my culture to them, where my ancestors came from before they came to America like 30, 40 years ago, and their culture, basically, it was always a beautiful thing, you know, like, because we're all humans in this world, so we just gotta keep that positive vibe going, though. Whether I'm Asian, whatever we are, you know, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that sounds awesome. Thank you for that much. Miss Tina?
Okay, well, I've always dated either Asian or white guys. I haven't really dated anything else. But I would say, because that's what I'm used to dating. And I would say, because I guess growing up, I was mostly around Asian and white people. So that's what I mostly am around. I'm used to. And when it comes to the best experience, I would probably say it's a tie, but it's with the same person. The best experience is one when we went all out into our hardcore fandoms of kabuki culture, talking about our favorite actors, talking about our favorite plays. We went all out because what I loved about him was he was hardcore into, because he was a Japanese guy, and he was hardcore into culture, hardcore into history, because his family descended from a samurai clan, head samurai clan, and they had a lot of pride in that. So they always told him about that and everything else. And so we could talk about all the stuff like, oh yeah, because I love history. I'm a huge history nerd. So we could sit there and we had a whole day where we just went all day just talking about our favorite traditional plays and stories and folklore. And I absolutely just loved that. And I would say the second best time, same person. We spent time listening to music we really liked, and we had planned on going to this specific concert and stuff, but it ended up getting sold out. And he was trying to get VIP tickets at the last minute. But I was like, it's fine. We can sit in a car and listen to the same music. It's cool. We don't have to go. Because he's like, I want to surprise you. I'm like, well, you should have bought the tickets a long time ago. But anyway, we had a good time just listening to the music and talking about the artists we liked and stuff. And it was a really good time because for me, definitely the most important thing when connecting with a person, regardless of culture, is having a connection with the person themselves. And as long as you have a connection with them one-on-one, human to human, it doesn't really matter what culture the person's in. But yeah, that's my happy experiences.
Cool, cool. And Marlo?
I think I can just piggyback off everything that everyone else has said. Food and experiences. It was really awesome to, I guess the food was kind of like, okay, yeah, I like this stuff, but I'm not going to try, something that's still squirming on my plate. It's like, no, you got to eat it this way. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm actually down. I didn't realize I was so down bad. But then realizing that I was in an environment where growing up, I was the odd person out. I was the weird one. I was always too nerdy, too quote unquote white or white sounding, too white adjacent. And then I had a heartbreak and I just went hard to the left, like everybody was my enemy. I went full on neat. Like if it wasn't anime, video games, don't bother me. Leave me alone. And so that's what kind of started the snowball effect of dating outside of my race, is because I got so much ridicule and criticism from within my own race. And being in those spaces where it was perfectly okay to cosplay, having someone to go to a host club with, going to karaoke and it not be weird, marathoning, foreign flicks with the subtitles, blaring at 100. Nobody cared in those spaces and environments. So really food and experiences. Like my boyfriend now, he cooks, which is great because I suck at cooking. And like he's half Okinawan and half African American, so he's always fusing and researching stuff all the time, and it's just like, what you cooking today, baby? So yeah, food and experiences, I think those are like the best experiences to have. And yeah, always looking out for something new.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for that. So my next question would be, in terms of the dating landscape right now, and regardless of whether you guys are single or not single, whatever, uh, what is your take on this? Like, what do you think that everyone nowadays, is looking for when it comes to dating? Like, I'm not talking about like literally whether you're looking at just casual or something serious or anything like that, or marriage or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like, in a person, right? Like emotionally, psychologically, whatever, on a romantic level. Like, what do you think people nowadays are looking to get out of the whole dating game, basically, for lack of a better word? And there's no order. You guys can just go whenever.
I guess I'll start. I think like what people look for these days as far as dating goes is a very subjective question, but I would say like, but this is a little bit more on the common side of things. I've noticed that people just want to be with someone who's just a positive impact in other people's lives, romantically and emotionally and stuff like that. They want someone who's very educated, very kind, very has a lot of their priorities in check basically, and it doesn't mean they have to have like a degree from Harvard or Yale or something like that, and work a very six-digit position salaried every year and stuff like that. You just want someone who could take care of them, take care of themselves, and mean well for them as they mean well for others, as far as I know. Like, every age is different, I've noticed. Like, when I was in high school, everyone was like, oh, I just want someone who's really thugged out and, listen like the rappers I watch on TV or something like that, who has a swag, but it's not now. That's where I get older. I'm in my 30s right now, so it's like at first when I was this might sound funny, but when I was younger, I wanted like something that looked like a cutout Disney star like Ashley Tisdale or my favorite J-pop idol from Japan or something like that. But now it's like it doesn't have to be that. It just means they have to be a good person. They have to mean well. They have to have their priorities and mind in check. And mean well for me. They could take care of themselves, and I could take care of them. And provide for them. They could provide for me, and just work as a team. It's like wrestling. We're tag team partners, basically. We gotta do it right, or we lose the title in the match, basically, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. Next.
I'll be next. So dating, yes, intimacy, that's one thing, and then so not feeling lonely, companionship, and also exchange. So it's like they want to give something, and what they also want to get something, and someone who can help them, like protect them, and who can help them clean the house chores, or who can help them maybe like financially wise too. But like not too much, not too little, maybe just the right amount, and just someone who to talk to, and what else? And also the fact that their relationship also kind of don't feel like an outcast in somewhat of a way.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And when it comes to interracial relationships, it's like they do that relationship because they want to feel that exoticism and feel something and just experience something that is not within their culture, like because they're always in their culture the same thing, but if they take someone outside of their culture, then they're still learning more, and it's just out of the norm. They want to try something that's out of the norm also.
Okay. Next.
I would say that the biggest thing for me personally is patience. And I think that if everybody gave everybody else some slack, the world would be a much better place. Because it takes a certain level of self awareness to know what you need out of the other person, regardless of their race. Because if it's not specifically tied to that, then saying I only date people of this color is no different than saying, well, I only date within my own race. It's like you're excluding an entire group of people for the sake of just, well, I have these rules. Well, why do you have them? What purpose do they serve? So for me, knowing your love languages, I know that's kind of a pseudoscience, but I know that for me, patience is important. If you can figure out what your love language is and how it meshes with other people, you'll have a better chance of having success in the long term, I feel like. But yeah, knowing what you need out of a person versus just what you want out of a person.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Very good point. And Miss Tina?
Yes, to piggyback off what everybody said, like, Patrick was talking about how important it is to find, someone to appeals to you. Like you said, when he was younger, he liked the celebrities, and nowadays he's looking for somebody that he feels fulfill his needs. And like Brian was saying, how you need somebody to keep you from feeling lonely. And like Marlo was saying, how it's good to communicate well with people. All those points are excellent. And to build upon those points, I would say with the population at large, I've watched people online, dating profiles and stuff like that. And people don't know what they're looking for most of the time. They have an idea of what they're looking for, but they don't know exactly what they want because they may have never had it before. Or they say, well, I think I like this type of person, that type of person, but they really don't know. But what it really boils down to is having someone who fulfills the need that you have. Like, for instance, some people, they want to be the dominant partner in a relationship. So they want somebody that's more submissive. Some people want to have someone that's equal to them. Some people, so the thing is, you have to know yourself first before you can really look for someone else. Because knowing yourself will show you what you like, what you dislike. Like me, for instance, the number one thing I want out of a partner is intelligence and a very good brain. Because there are a lot of people who are very stylish and very good looking and are very successful, but if you get them in a conversation, they cannot make 3 sentences together. And I'm like, how did you get where you are? But anyway, there are people out there that function well in society, but they are not good conversational partners. So for me, I'm looking for a conversationalist and somebody who thinks deeply about the world and thinks about the things they're dealing with and is a good communicator. And, like I said, I'm not really looking for somebody to be my boss. When I get home, I don't want another boss. So I would definitely say I'm looking for someone who, if my life was a fairy tale, I would be the royal empress looking for another emperor, not looking for someone to be over me, but someone who is my equal, or at least be a good concubine. Thanks.
I like you.
So
Give me a reverse harem any day of the week, please. Boys over flowers me all day.
So what is okay? So I have another question. So what is the difference between having a fetish, right, and having a preference? You know what I mean? And the second part. So actually, there's two parts to that question: fetish or preference. What's the difference? And also, what do you believe? I guess. You know what? I guess there's only one part because I literally just forgot the second part. All right, yeah, just the first part. Yeah, let's start with Brian.
Okay, this is a hard question because fetish, I feel like is more sexualized, while preference is like a choice. But they can like intermingle with each other. And but like if it's like when someone's having a good pleasure out of it, then it's more marked as fetish. But if someone's just like have a choice, then it'll be more of a preference. It's kind of like if I see a difference between a green apple and a red apple, that's when I'll say, oh, I choose the red apple because I prefer the red apple, but I don't have sexual attraction to a red apple or green. But if someone is like a woman with like maybe like a B cup compared to an A cup, who knows? Like then that can be considered more of a fetish and also preference. But fetish can also be like that.
Okay, Marlo.
I think fetishes are something that you can akin it to sugar. You can have it sometimes. It's a treat. That's something that you would like to have, but you don't need that in your day to day life. Your body does not need extra sugar beyond what you get from having to eat your vegetables, having to eat your fruit, making sure you go to sleep 8 hours a day. Now, where you go to sleep, like, is it on a couch or it's a bed? It's your choice. That's your thing. But as far as like going out of your way to get something that you don't necessarily need to function, to make yourself a better person, productive, or flourish emotionally. And that's not to say that you don't have relationships built purely off of fetishes that don't work. They absolutely do. It all comes down to what people want to put themselves through. I feel like if you want to shoot yourself in the foot and only date one type of race of person, that's fine. You're limiting your chances, you're limiting the shots that you can take, but that's fine. But I do wish that people would be aware of get away from saying, oh, that's just my preference. It's like, recipe. Really, eight out of the 10 guys you dated were all Asian, and you didn't even know which part of Asia they came from. And I met this woman. I meet these women. Sometimes they're at cons where they have no idea about the. To me, it's deeply disrespectful if you are with an Asian man and you don't even know, like, East Asian, you don't even know. Like, is he from South Korea? Is he from Japan? I don't know, but he's hot and he's got sexy hair. That's no different. That is no different than an Asian guy coming up to me and going, "Yo, Moesha, you got that fat booty." Like, dude, excuse me, sir. Like, that's no different. So I think that there is a lot of education that needs to be had by all parties across the board so that people can recognize, like, within them, is this a preference? Is this a fetish? And if so, one way or the other, now I know how to act accordingly to make it fair for the other person. Because what you don't want to do is put someone in this situation like, you're only with me because of my eyes. You're only with me because I'm darker than you. It's like when I was first on the show before and I shared the story of I was like the starter trial Black girl. It's just like, you're Black, but you're not really Black. So it's okay to date you. It was basically the sentiment. So after being on the receiving end of that, I would never want to put somebody else on the receiving end of that. And I see it with both guys and girls alike. So as far as what distinguishes one from the other, like Brian was saying, they can be interchangeable. But being aware of it and making sure that the other party knows what's what too, because that's what's fair and what's right. I think that's the only way you're going to have long-term success and happiness.
Excellent. Miss Tina.
I think when it comes to the discussion between preference versus fetish, I think it comes with the expectation of what you're looking for. Like Marlo was talking about this. Well, you're Black, but you're not too Black. You like, Black light. And so I can experience that, it's like all the flavor of being Black without, all the extra substance I'm not looking for. Because you're just not quite, stereotypically Black enough for what I'm looking for. So, and like Brian was talking about how, one person can be attracted to one thing versus another thing. But I think when it comes to fetishization is when the people have stereotypes they're looking for, along with, like, somebody says, oh, I'm attracted to, like, some guys say, oh, I like short girls. But what is it about short girls that you like? Do you like the fact that they're short, or do you like, oh, because I know I have a short girl, they don't know how to reach high things, and I have to reach it and get it for them? How do you know she doesn't know how to get it? She might be a spider monkey and climb up the side of that thing and grab it herself. So you don't know what you're getting when it comes to different people. And so a lot of people, like, I've heard a lot of women say, oh, I like Asian men because they're all about honor and respect. I'm like, who told you that? I'm like, where? I'm sorry, who said that to you? And so, and they're like, yeah, and I like, they all know martial arts. I'm like, no, that's a skill. You have to go to, you can learn martial arts too. That's a skill. You have to go to school to learn that. I'm like, well, let me guess. Your whole Asian man experience, watch old Bruce Lee movies. It just seems like, I don't know. But, I look at, it's all these stereotypes they want to put in with it. I said, no, that's a stereotype, love. That's fetishization, because you can be like, oh, I'm only attracted to, like, some guys, oh, I don't like girls who, have larger cup sizes. But why do you like girls larger cup size? When you like girls larger cup size, do you want the reality of it or do you want the idea of it? Because in real life, those things are heavy. And the girls have back pain, some don't, but you got to deal with them and your bras are expensive. But when they say, oh, girl, I wish I could buy you some nice lingerie, I'm like, do you know that when you're well endowed, your lingerie price go up by 10? So I'm like, deal with the reality of it. And so when they go to Asian men and they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna be respectful, he's gonna care about his ancestors, he's gonna be a martial artist, he's gonna like anime, he's gonna do all this. I'm like, no, no. None of that applies. He's a human. He's a person. That's what he is. So I'm like, that's when it's 100% a fetish, when they have all these stereotypes they put in their mind of what if I get any random Asian man will have. But as long as you see a person as an individual who comes from a country in Asia or family members came from a country in Asia, then you can say, okay, this is a person first, ethnicity second, culture second, because you don't know how much that person care about the culture. Because a lot of American Asian men don't know the first thing they know. Okay, I'm part this, or I came from this country, but I don't know. You have to ask my grandparents. I don't know. They one came here, so they don't know anything about it. So if you come up to this guy, yeah, I know he's gonna be all about. No. All you know is he is Asian. That's it. That doesn't mean anything. So that's my thing. What you do is you find, yes, he's Asian. Congratulations. But from where? Like Marla was saying, from where? I think he said Chinese. I think I said, what's his name? Oh, his name, Watanabe. I said, that boy is Japanese. There's no Chinese man named Watanabe in this world. Let's admit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it is for real? I thought they was all the same. And I'm like, never mind. You said they all the same. Get it fun. But so that's what I look at. That's how I feel about it. That's when they cross the line into fetish territory. But if you just say, oh, I like XYZ people because I'm attracted to them and I'm physically attracted to them, I'm like, great, that's more preference territory. But if you get there and be like, you got to have all these different things, that's a fetish. And that's my last comment on that.
And last but not least, Patrick.
So I think preference and fetishism, they're intertwined with one another. It also relates to like something that could be very superficial and a misinterpretation of what's really what you like. Because based on my personal experience, like I've been invited to numerous AMWF Facebook groups in the past, and I still get them invitations every now and then. And I'm not trying to judge anyone or put the blame on anybody or just generalize the people I've came across. But what I'm observing is some of these people, no names mentioned, they think all Asian guys, specifically Koreans and Japanese men like myself, look like those K-pop singers. It's like, my best friend from New York City, or lives in New York, upstate New York from college, named Peter, he does not look like any of those K-pop stars. He just looks like me and you, your everyday kind of people, basically. If that even makes any sense, like, when people think, "Oh, I love Asian men," I think they just look like those guys from BTS or One OK Rock or any of those K-pop groups like Stray Kids. I'm gonna date a Korean guy. Like, I mean, it's great that these people are in vogue now because it was better than how it was just about 2 decades ago. But like when you generalize people of my kind or even other kinds, it's considered fetishism because like it's based on stereotypes. Like no one's in the wrong here. Just my observations, like I've seen people come up to me and ask me. Well, I was in Japan touring with my band Benign Neglect at the time, right? And my physical appearance can either alternate with a strong East Asian resemblance. This is my cosplay wig I wear on stage, but I wasn't wearing this on stage. I didn't have this cosplay wig yet, But I go into Japan and they could tell I look like one of them, but when they hear me talk, it's like, he doesn't have no accent. His Japanese language is Jozu, which means it's okay in their language. I mean, he talks like those guys from America. I'm not trying to generalize or sound fucked up, but this guy looks like us, but he talks just like a white boy. What is he? But it's like a shattering of stereotypes, but it's also kind of like a little bit weird because, I'm an Asian American. I look like them, but I'm not from there for many, many years since before I was even born, So it's like, another story I had was like when I was living with my ex in Texas, Lubbock, Texas, which is far away from Japan and Taiwan as much as you possibly can think around the globe at the time, like I was living in this one shack that looked like the house you see in Jesse's Trailer Park in Breaking Bad, the TV show. And, I was surrounded by a bunch of neighbors. There was like almost no Asians, basically. I was like one of the few of my kind living in that neighborhood at the time, with their demographic, and I was like, well, he doesn't look like those guys I see. He might look like those guys I see, but he's not the threatening type. He's the kind of guy that looks like the guy I could think of my own Steve Urkel, but his own version or something, But there was like a lot of there was like a bunch of like generalizations because like even my own kind was kind of guilty of it too. But I could think, oh, Patrick is like he's Asian, but he doesn't act Asian. But it's not really a matter of how if you act a certain way to constitute what you really are. My complexion is what I am on the outside. Yes, I'm proud to be Japanese and Chinese descent and Asian American for that matter. But what also counts is on the inside because, like not all Asian men are going to be into like martial arts or anime, or they're not going to, of course, they're not going to look like everyone from BTS, of course, or they're not just going to be listening to like EDM music or R&B slow jam kind of music you hear like on the, like those like Boys to Men or something like that, which is good music, of course, but I listen to everything basically. I listen to rock and roll, rap, EDM, every kind of music that sounds good, So I have a very vast knowledge because that's my area I specialize in is independent music, and I do a lot of different kinds of music really in my band, but it's just that like when you talk about fetishization and preference, it goes hand in hand related, like because when you say like, oh, I want a white girl, but it's like, do you know what the white girl's really going to be like? You cannot say you just want a white girl because like you're just limiting your options basically. Like, what's about this white girl you like, or what's about this Japanese girl you like, or what about this, so forth. Like it's all kind of interplay with one another because like fetishization preference is like we like it's okay to like the things we like, but like when you get too attached to it, it becomes maybe low key a problem depending how you present it to the people wherever you go. Like I've seen people of my own kind, not saying all of them, but they're like, oh, I only want to date a white girl. I only want to date a white girl because I move up into society. I'm like, but how though? Like, does this guy look like Brad Pitt or is he like fucking, I don't know, but like, it's a bunch of baloney sometimes because like, you should go for what's inside a person deep down, regardless if they're white, Asian, black, whatever, Latino, whatever, like it's not just but of course we could always have this outside look to us that attracts you guys, but if that's what they're all liking them for, it's like not everyone's built in the same frame as me or them basically, so you cannot really say I just love the Asian guys because they look like BTS or something like that, because not all of them look like that either. I mean, I don't look like the most top-notch guy out there. I'm a very rugged looking kind of scruffy kind of guy, so, even with this wig on, so it's like, and I also have a personality that kind of sets me apart, sort of, from the stereotypical Asian, because I try to retain that because it's part of my personality, my tribe, So it's a very subjective question again, but it's also like I would just say it's like intertwined with one another, preference and fetishism. It's like if it's done too much or done way too much, it's like it could more likely become a potential problem because you should be open-minded to everybody if they treat you good. It's like it's my band POB does. I don't care if you're white, black, Asian like me, Latino, cat, dog, whatever.
Whoa.
As long as you're nice to me, though, as long as you're nice to me, it's all good,
I'm calling PETA.
Excellent. Thank you very much for those. Thank you very much for those responses. So just a few more questions. So the next one is there a double standard between women objectifying men and men objectifying women? And Marlo, we'll start with you.
There absolutely is. I think that women are raised and almost expected to be physically objectified, and men we're also taught to objectify men solely based on their income, solely based on their status, solely based on how you can marry him to elevate yourself. And then on the flip side of that, because there's only so many quote unquote great men, and if all the women are competing for that, well, people are going to fall. Not everybody's going to get what they want. So in that regard, I think it's a huge double-edged sword. And I think women are the biggest perpetrators of it, unfortunately. And I know the feminists are going to come for me and I don't care. But I do feel like it really is on us to change the narrative. If we don't want to be objectified physically for our looks, then let's not put so much power and credence into that. And, if we don't want, the sons that we eventually give birth to and raise to be looked at as tools to be manipulated and used, then teach them to look for something else outside of just what you see on the outside. What's that song? I forget. It was a song by Beyonce, but like the intro is this French narrative, and she's opening up talking about, the societal pressures that we put on little girls versus little boys. We teach women to, be raised with purity and, protect what's between your legs and sit like a lady and don't do that, this, that, and the third, where we turn around and celebrate the boys doing those and things and hitting those milestones younger and younger. So there's this real disconnect. It's like, well, you need the thotties to be a fuck boy, and you need the rich ass guys to be a gold digger. So can we come together and figure out a better dynamic for this? Because we're really going in circles here. So yeah, I feel like the feminine gaze is the bigger problem, but I do feel like the male gaze is just more dominant.
Excellent. Brian?
Yeah, I think both ways it's being objectified. It's like lately, it's been going on for centuries. The women were being objectified by men, but in a way, men were also being objectified. But in a way, it's being objectified the woman's father. If you look at it, if you look at woman's father, they'll be like, the woman's father can be really judgy. When their daughter brings in a man, woman's dad, that's why there's been like stereotypes of like woman's dad with a shotgun in front of their boyfriend. So in a way, like when I meet girls, I feel like I'm being judged too. Actually, I've had one instance where actually this girl I know, I'm not even in a relationship with her or anything like that, but this girl's dad was looking at me and be like, kind of like, he gave me like a, hey, I like you, kind of that message.
Okay. Miss Tina?
When it comes to objectification, okay, historically, and I'm not going to go long on that, but historically, women have always objectified men. Except the thing is, men were praised for it and women weren't. Like, for instance, back throughout history, like, oh, that woman, she's a slut, she's this, she's that. And because of the fact that she was getting what she wanted out of men. But if a man goes and get what he wants out of women, oh, that's a stud. That guy right there, yeah, that's a player. But, because of the encouragement that guys received throughout history of being more accepting for them to objectify women. Like I said, women have always done it. Even if you go all the way back and read the book of Genji, the Tale of Genji, that was written like in 900 something AD. Half of that book is her saying, oh my God, Genji was so beautiful. When the light hit him, the sun had to hide behind the clouds because he was the most beautiful thing. And that was, oh my God, his hair. Oh, did you see his body, his face? It's always been like that. That was 900 AD. So the thing is, except for women weren't celebrated for it like men were. But now that women are able to get more income, women are able to do more things, women are more vocal with the fact that they objectify men too. And yes, like I always say, people should be treated as people and not objects. And they should be considered for the whole thing, physical, mental, emotional, everything, money, whatever. You should consider the whole person. But when it comes to objectification, yeah, people do it all the time. Everybody does it to some extent. Even just a little bit, everybody does it because it's a natural monkey brain reflex. But the thing is, when you have to get past that point to actually think about the person, that you're dealing with, instead of just thinking about them as, oh, the idea of this person. Oh yeah, I saw the way that girl was walking. I know she probably put it down. Girl, probably virgin. So the thing is, you don't know anything about the person when you're objectifying them. And I definitely say both men and women do it. And like Marlo was talking about, being a two-way street, where, like she said, you can't have gold diggers without rich dudes. At the same time, the rich dudes shouldn't only pursue gold digger type women. So they should pursue Mariah type of women because they have made a whole stereotype of actually going after women that look a certain way and act a certain way. Then that's how they get the gold diggers to come to them in the first place, because that's the only thing they date. So if you don't already have that dichotomy and that setup, you wouldn't have these issues. But like I said, men and women have always been objectifying each other. Just men were celebrated more for it. And it's getting to a point like when Sex and the City first came out, everybody was like, "Oh my God, did you hear what they said about that man? Did you hear those women?" And so of course the older generation like, "That's so uncool. How can they say that about men?" I'm like, women been saying this stuff about men. You just not knowing about it. So the thing is, women could objectify men behind closed doors, while men could do it publicly. And so that was the main thing, And nowadays it's getting to a point where with social media, everybody's saying what they think, deep down in their heart of hearts. And so everybody's saying, "Oh, I really would like to get with him, or I really like to get with her." And people are like, "Oh my gosh, people think like that." So yeah, people have always done it. But I think with slut shaming on the decline, which was never really a good thing in the first place, and with people putting women up to higher scrutiny for doing the same thing the men do on the decline, thank goodness. So with that on the decline, you do get to see more objectification on both sides. And like I said, when you first see somebody, sure, you might look at it and be like, "That person really is my type." But like I said, learn more about them, because that might be a wonderful serial killer. Okay.
Patrick?
I think, it's been going on. There's always been a double standard, I would say. Since the beginning of time, whenever the world was created, humans were divided in some sort of way, like as far as the gender roles and stereotypes and the gender division, double standard kind of thing. It's a touchy subject, yeah, but I'll just give an example based on one of my hobbies, like wrestling, besides music, I love wrestling, professional wrestling. I grew up a WWE fan when it was called WWF back in the 90s, and before The Rock, we had all these world champions were basically your typical all-American white, big muscular, sweaty kind of guy. There were women on the roster, but they're not used as talent to wrestle in the ring. Sometime later in the late 90s, they were starting to get women to wrestle more in the ring, but they're not really wrestling. They're doing these really weird gimmicky matches with these weird stipulations. Oh, bra and panties match, or mud wrestling match, or so forth. There were women's wrestlers at the time that were in the roster in the later 90s, which was called the Attitude Era if you watch wrestling, and they were not really used as real athletes. They were basically used as eye candy, or and it was also objectifying too. The women thought it was kind of objectifying at the time when they were watching it, as they look back on it, and the men were just basking in its glory watching this on TV. It was a different world back then. Because a lot of things were very more different than how it is now. Especially in the wrestling business. Like back then, before The Rock, we didn't really have any champions of color. I mean, there were color champions at one point, but that was before my time. I don't know too much about it because I didn't really watch wrestling until maybe the Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan days. Later, when I was maybe later in the run, when I was 6 or 7 years old in the early 90s, when I was watching on TV one Saturday morning, and it's until more in recent years, they're starting to showcase more wrestlers in the WWE, where it was all about the women's revolution. It's all about women who could actually wrestle and put on a good match. Because back then, we had a lot of filler talent basically that could have been used in such a way where they could be very athletic and put on a good storytelling match for 25 minutes, but they were mostly reduced to eye candy and all that kind of stuff, right? Also there were some decent wrestlers back there. There were some good wrestlers back there. There were females, and they were called the WWE Divas at the time. They're there's Trish Stratus, Lita, Chyna, and stuff like that. But it wasn't until more recent years, until last decade, they started showing more minorities in WWE, where women are actually getting wrestling matches now. And there were actually instances where biggest wrestling event of the year, for example, WrestleMania 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte had a match, I believe, for the title. And night one of WrestleMania 37 this year, they had two African-American women's wrestlers, Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, who was also related to Snoop Dogg, one of her Snoop Dogg's relatives, and there was a changing of a guard, so to speak. I mean, there's still a lot of double standards with race and gender. I think back then it was a lot more prominent and more very, 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 very out there than it is now. It's still out there now, but people are more sensitive to these things now, where it's oh, I mean, it still exists because we have social media. There's to be honest with you, going back to my experience on social media, I'm very selective what I add now, because I be attracting weird people, and not because they're weird, but because it's because it's a lot of personal objectification based on my character when I'm just trying to put my music out there, just whatever reason, which I'm not gonna get into, you know. And there's a lot of things that these people these days are a little bit more sensitive, you know, towards certain things, like, you know, whether it's right or wrong is up for you to decide. But I think there are some instances where these days, like the internet's like YouTube, for example, is cracking down on bullies and cyberbullies, and I think that's a good thing, you know, because God only knows how many trolls I had to deal with and objectify my race and gender for what I was doing at the time, based on the content of the music videos I was uploading on YouTube at the time. Or they were not very good videos, I can admit, but you know, it's also a very different time back then till now. Yes, a lot of the objectification still does exist, but we're finding at least ways now to combat it all and stuff like that. For example, you know, it was a very hard question to answer personally. You know, I'm just trying to give some examples based on hobbies and observations how this is going on. You know, that's all I can say though.
Yeah. Thank you for all that. So one last question, and you guys can be, you know, completely honest. I mean, which you have been so far, so that's great. But so okay, so this is sort of a topic that's been on my mind for a bit. So I guess let's say that your partner, right, is like a great person. You know, she's a great girl, great guy, whatever. And you know, things have been going really good between you guys. And you know, you've already met their parents. You know what I mean? You've been seeing each other for, I don't know, maybe a few months or so. Things are going, you know, things are serious. Things are going pretty well. But let's say that the one caveat, the one sort of catch to that is that they're really bad in bed, like really, like maybe, you know what? Let's just say, let's just come right out and say it. They're the worst you've ever had in bed, right? But everything else is great. Like you're totally happy with this person, and everything like that. This person has a, you know, stable career, their own place, all that stuff. They pay their own bills. You know what I mean? But they suck at sex, and they're the worst. So what would, you know, what is your take on that? Like, would you stay with that person, or would you leave that person? And again, I just want to stress, like, we're not judging here. You know, this is not that kind of panel. I just want you guys' takes on that. So yeah, so let's start with Tina.
That will come down to the answer to one question. Are they willing to learn to get better? Because if they're not willing to learn to get better, then I'm sorry. I'm going to have to either invest in a certain website that sells very wonderful things for adults that they can use for bedroom exploration, and I will have to have a big investment in that company. And you know, anytime the bedroom is occupied, I'll be like, "Hey, wait a minute, let me finish. Then you can come through and you can help me clean up the aftermath." You know, but you know, if they're not, and if they're willing to learn, then I'll have to, you know, pull up a PowerPoint presentation and be like, these are the parts you touch. See this right here. This is how you. Okay, now when you know you use your hips. Let me show you the next slide. You see your hips right here. You know, you make this, not that motion. This wait, no, you know, don't wait, not like that, not like that, like this. Watch the video. Let me play with the slow motion. See right? See that right there? That's the move. See that movement? All right. That's it. Now, I want you to do just that. No, don't do it sideways like that. You're getting it. You're getting it. Just see, but they're like, you know, I don't know. I think I'm good more than enough to satisfy you. And I'm like, you know what? You're more than enough to satisfy that door opening, and you can just go on, you know, singing, you know, because I usually have good experience with people's parents, and we break up, and the mom and dad be like, "Why don't you come back to my son?" I'm sorry, we have reasons. You know, you raised a wonderful son. He's great, but you know, we have things that we just can't. You know, I'm sorry, we just. But you know, he was a wonderful person, and I know somebody out there who is a total virgin who don't know anything about sex will be so happy with your son. I mean, who who you know, is easy to please and very oversensitive, and they'll be so happy. I mean, somebody out there is for your son, and I'd be like, you know, and I do wish him the best. And same thing with his job. And if you hear a little lady barking in the background, that's my niece's dog. But she's over there being mad because she can't come in the room. But anyway. And so she's even putting her objections out there in the background bargaining about how she feels is wrong too. So I will go ahead and let somebody else talk before I have to let her give her piece on the mic too.
Okay. And Brian?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on, it's case by case basis, and depends on the standards and what the expectation is for on both sides. So if a person is not good on bed the first time, who knows, like he or she can build the experience over time and practice. It's like baseball. The first timers mainly suck, but if you keep swinging the bat a lot of times, you'll get better at it. So in the end, it's just about practice. But if a person, however, like if the person's not willing to learn, like Tina said, or it's just or the pace is very slow, then it's up to the person to whether leave or not.
Excellent, excellent. And Patrick?
You know, I think, well, for me, I'm a Scorpio. You know, my birthday's November 15th. So, usually Scorpios are associated with like having a high sexual appetite and desire. I mean, as far as the whole sexual intimacy question topic is concerned, if we're not good the first time, we could always try and practice more and see how it goes from there. I mean, I had experiences in the past where I would hang out with someone and you would tell me, "Oh, you're bad at it," or something. "Oh, this was like many years ago." Like, "Oh, you're bad at it. Goodbye." You know, which was a little bit too much because they could at least show me how to do things. But then again, I could take the fall because I was not quite experienced yet. But it'd be more better if they could show the person how to like really, or maybe it was just the fact that it was just there was just lack of chemistry on that end or something like that. But I don't know. But I think sex is actually a very important subject for me as far as relationship goes. I'm a Scorpio, so like maybe I don't need it every day, but just a good amount, maybe good with my partner or something like that. If it doesn't go well the first time, we can always try again, keep practicing. It's basically like Brian said, playing baseball or playing guitar, practicing a sport, practicing a musical instrument. Once you keep trying with the person, you get better at it, and the results can be actually better at depending on how you utilize it and stuff like that. As far as why I ever leave a person because they were not really sexually into sexual things or something like that. That's something I don't know how I can address because I mean I'm a public figure nowadays, so I don't want to risk too much controversy by saying yes or no. It's basically up to me to decide whether I want to keep them or not. It's like, but then again, personally, I know some people out there who are not really who actually it doesn't satisfy them to be around people who are not into those kind of things. It's like, it's up to you or that person or myself to decide whether I want to kick them to curb or not, because like you have to reevaluate a lot of things when it comes to those matters in a relationship. Because like, what if the person actually does good things for you, or you do, or a lot of this and a lot of that is good, but the only thing they're bad at is intimacy. It's like, it's a very, very hard choice and decision to make. It's something I even would struggle with making myself if I were put in that position, basically, like, what can I do? I really like this girl, but I'm also actually attracted to her physically. So like, what can I do? She's treating me very well, I'm not saying this is happening for me right now, but it's just an example. Like, what can I do? Like, I'll ask Kami-sama, which is God in Japanese language, what can I do, God? It's like, it's ultimately, you had to think you had to reevaluate the situation as much as you can clearly and see. You have to decide for yourself whether you want this or not. Like, maybe if the person's ready, it'll be that person's wish fulfilled, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how to put into words, but maybe he or she might be bad at it the first time. But it's like, rather than just go AWOL and just like drop them like the habit because they were bad at it the first time, you just gotta show them how to do it. Like someone here said, like, just show them how to do it. Practice makes perfect, of course. And like a sport, like playing music, intimacy is just about the same, because physical activity and stuff like that does require a lot of like work to make it on point, basically. If that makes any sense, though.
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that makes
You're
perfect
welcome.
sense. I think
You're
a
welcome.
lot of people agree with you.
Thank you.
Marlo, yeah, Marlo, your take.
I guess the short answer is, if I have to, I would never leave a person for being bad at sex, because if they were bad at sex, I wouldn't be with them in the first place. So and I think it's where you catch people in life, right? Like, if I were caught at a moment where it's like, okay, well, I got time to, take you by the hand. But like, for me personally, that's part of my attraction to a person to begin with. So I find that a lot of times that for me to be sexually attracted to a person, even to begin with, I'm already in my head. I'm already in love with you. Like, so once we get to that point, there's never been a problem, mainly because my enjoyment isn't derived from the physical act itself, like all by itself. I can achieve the same things like without that. But for us to get to that point, I'm pretty infatuated with you. And if you're not good, then I never got infatuated in the first place. So it's harder for me to answer. And I'm a Scorpio too, so you would think that I would have like this through the roof sex drive, which I do with my partner, but that's because he's in my head, and that's where it starts with me. I think that's where it starts with a lot of women. So I don't see it as a problem, but yeah, if you're already at that point, there was something there to make you want to be with them in the first place. So it is worth, trying it out, trying to see, if they can be taught, if there's something you need to learn to make them more comfortable, because instruction's a two-way street, because there are going to be things that you don't know that you don't know. But yeah, no, I wouldn't leave them because I probably wouldn't be with them in the first place.
Okay. Well, that's everyone's takes on that topic. So that being said, that was the last question. I want to thank everybody, all my guests, Patrick, Marlo, Brian, Linktina, for joining me today. I really had a lot of fun with you guys discussing these topics. It's been a while since I did one of these, but I am trying to make these sort of at least a bi-weekly thing. So, and you know what I mean? The roster will grow, and it will change, and we'll discuss a variety of topics here on this channel. So, if you're new here, everyone watching at home, please subscribe, hit that like button. Smash. What do people say? Smash that like button. Hit the notification bell. Everything like that. Oh, before I forget, everyone here, do you guys have your own YouTube channels? Anyone here?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Now's the time to plug it. So.
Okay. Should I want to plug it in? Like type it up?
I think you just tell us.
Oh yeah. Oh my bad. Oh yeah. Just look me up. My name Pachilu Hayashi. That's how you can find me on YouTube. Oh, it's just my name, legal name as of April 2019. Pachilu Hayashi. Just look me up. 490 videos, a lot of music videos. Find me. Let's subscribe to my channel as well, guys, and listen to my music too on Spotify and Apple Music. Just search up Patrick Lou Band, basically.
Okay. Thank you. And Marlo.
Be on the lookout for me, Marlo Briggs. That's on Facebook, Instagram. My company, virtualrosemedia.com. Go check it out. It's not ready yet. It's coming. I'm still recording a lot of content, working with some really exciting editors here in the local Houston area to bring the viral market to virtual reality. So be on the lookout for that.
Okay. And Brian.
So if y'all want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Brian, all lowercase, period, John, Jeon, period, 213.
Thank you. And Miss Tina.
I'm Linktina or Linktina V pretty much everywhere on the web. And my main company is Burlington Vines Marketing Solutions. You'll find it at burlingtonvines.com. BURLINGTINAVINES.com. And this lovely lady is Zoe here. So Zoe, say hi to everybody.
Hi, Zoe.
Hello.
She's cute.
Yeah, that's who you heard in the background earlier who was making all that fuss.
So yeah, everyone, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please hit like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe to everyone here. Be on the lookout for new content. So that being said, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Again, thank you for watching, and peace. And I'll see y'all later. Bye bye.